and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show World Cup Group Preview. As ever, I'm Ali.
I'm Sarah.
And this is our final group, Group H, our preview series in partnership. H. Don't you start with this. No, my missus says
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep going. I'm not laughing at you. We're, as you know, we're all very jealous over here of the English accent. So that was very English, and I loved it. Keep going. We're doing Group H.
We're doing Group H.
No. Say it how you like to.
Yeah, so we're doing Group. It got me all self-conscious now. Doing the 8th letter of the alphabet. Group H.
Group H.
Group H. In partnership
I've
with...
totally
Yeah,
flustered you. I'm so sorry.
Like, that's it.
In partnership. Pick up there.
In partnership with Find Her Football. The final group. How are we feeling, Sarah? How are we feeling? How are we doing?
I'm feeling good. This was really fun. We've gotten some really great feedback on this entire series. So thank you to everybody who's reached out to us and said how much you like this. Obviously, there's not a lot of content out there that's this in-depth about the lead up to the World Cup, the groups, the teams, everything like that, even though it's in, less than a month at this point. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to fill that gap. So we're really happy that it's been received so well by all of you. And we've had a lot of fun doing it.
I was going to say, it's been a blast to record and research and everything else.
Yeah.
Like, I'm finding out things I didn't know. So every day's a school day.
And it's made us, if you can imagine, even more excited.
We are hyped.
Yeah,
but that could
as
be
if that was possible.
All of the coffee that we have drunk between us.
I've only had one cup today. So far.
All
right. Who's in Group H?
So, in Group H, we have got Germany, Colombia, South Korea, and Morocco. On paper, a very dull group. However, we're going to prove to you why that's not true.
Oh, I love that. I've got nothing to add to that.
So, we're going to start with the big boys and go for...
The big girls.
The big girls. See, that sounds like an insult.
The big people.
The big people.
We're going to start with Germany.
Yeah, we're going to start with Germany.
I don't know what mood we're both in, but we're really both in a very similar mood today.
Yeah. The problem is normally Sarah's hyper and I'm not, or I'm hyper and Sarah's not. And right now we're both really hyper. So this is going to be a very interesting...
Maybe delirious is the word. I don't know. All right. So we're going to start... Oh, shoot. I'm so sorry. Hang on. Hey, baby, I'm recording right now. That's okay. Is everything okay? Oh, my God. Should I keep that in? I didn't realize my ringer was on.
My ringer hasn't been
so
on for
sorry.
like
How
years.
unprofessional of me.
So, we are talking about the Deutschland. We are talking about Germany, who... We're going to do rankings later, but they've got to be the favourites to finish first in this group, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're my favorites right now, if I'm being objective, to win this entire tournament.
Oh, those are some big words.
For me, this is the team who is the favorite to win the tournament right now.
Yeah, and they've got some big names. They've got some huge names that are likely to get called up into this squad. There's two we know for a fact won't, unfortunately, due to injury. So that is Linda Dahlmann and Julia Gwynn, who will both miss out due to injury. The big one for me will be Gwyn, because we all saw what she did in the Euros. Like,
she was so key in the back line.
Phenomenal in the Euros.
Absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, obviously Linda Dahlmann's kind of like a staple of the German national team, but Gwyn was so dominant at that outside position in the back line for Germany. But, it's Germany, so they really got that next one up. They'll be just fine, but we'll be sad to not see her on the field, obviously.
Absolutely. So, as we talked about them extensively during the Euros, they obviously got to the final where they were pipped to the post by a little nation that's just in West
who beat them.
Europe. No, I don't really remember.
Technically, I don't think they're a part of Europe anymore.
Hey, we're part of the continent, just not the EU. They can't push us that way.
Germany is arguably the most star-studded cast that we're going to see in this tournament. I mean, across the board, you go look at any of their lineups, frankly, from any of their previous games, and you look at their starting 11, and your jaw just kind of drops. But I think the main, I mean, we get into the specifics. I guess I'll just dive in right now. The Euros were an interesting one because Pop was not a starter initially.
No.
And then Schuler, who was the starting center forward, who was honestly playing very, very well, got hurt. And everybody was like, oh no, she was definitely going to be the top goal scorer of the tournament. You know, how's Alexandra Pop going to fare here? What a dumb question.
That was a stupid question.
And then in comes Alexandra Pop, who really just gets better with age, frankly. So for me, they've got more than a starting 11. The question is, who's going to start at that center forward position? From how Pop has been playing, it has to be Alexandra
Pop's my answer, because you look at what happened in the Euros final when she got injured in the warm-up and could not be in that squad, and look at the different Germany that we got. So for me, as much as I love Schuler, and I do, because she's a cracking centre forward and has just been amazing for Germany, Pop has played herself into that team and has played herself into that starting lineup. We've seen what she's doing at Wolfsburg. Like, domestically, she's cinched it. So for me, it's Pop all the way. It has to be.
I would agree with that. And I also just kind of wanted really the only other question mark position for me for Germany is that goalkeeper position. Fromms started and played the entire Euros, and they've been switching back and forth in terms of who is starting between Fromms and Katrin Berger. What are your thoughts?
I think it has to be Fromms, just because I feel like she plays the way that the German manager likes. She's commanding of her back, 4 or 3, whichever formation they decide to go from. And I've got nothing against Berger. Berger is a very experienced, very talented keeper. But I just feel like Fromms plays the German way, mainly because she's based in Wolfsburg and has more like contact within some of her teammates. But for me, it has to be Fromms starting.
I think it has to be Fromms as well. I would actually put a little question mark next to the goalkeeper position if it was Berger.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to explain why. Like you said, she's obviously a very skilled goalkeeper. She's a starting goalkeeper for Chelsea. But I do think that we've seen her be shaky at times. And I think Fromms is just a little bit stronger.
That's the thing.
Well, let's talk about all of the bright spots, because there's a lot of them. But I want to spend a moment on their backline. We already called out Gwyn, who won't be there, but it's Hendrik and Hegering, that center-back pairing. Germany, I said this so many times in the Euros last year, and I know we're not here to, rehash the Euros, but I think it's fun when you get a major tournament the year before another major tournament, because it's a really good way. It's a baseline that you can go from. And Germany hasn't changed a lot since then. They haven't lost a ton of players. They're actually like the powerhouse who isn't dealing with a ton of injuries here.
Or retirement,
and I want to give credit
like that.
Exactly. And I want to give credit where credit is due to this center back pairing in Hendrik and Hegering. Germany is such an organized team, offensively, but defensively as well. They're Germans, so obviously they are, right? But the way that they all move, and it all really stems from that center-back pairing. And they're going to be, if you like watching a defense move across the field, just watch those two. And the way they work together, it's really beautiful. Yeah,
you've also got Rausch in that back line, who, again, phenomenal player, plays for Wolfsburg, is like a full-back / midfielder, but again, just plays beautiful, beautiful football.
And who isn't excited to watch Lena Oberdorf, Magul, Brand, Huth? It's just literally a star-studded cast. This is going to be Lena Oberdorf's second World Cup.
Yep.
And she is 22 years old. And she's already regarded as one of the best defensive center midfielders in the game. I am just so excited to watch her on the world stage. She has proven that the stage does not scare her. If anything, I think she plays a little better when it comes to major tournaments, and she's going to be so key. There is a lot riding on those young shoulders, but nothing more than I really think that she's used to with Wolfsburg and, in playing for the German national team for the past 4 years.
So let's talk about games that have been going into this World Cup. So they've taken on some big teams as their friendlies, which I think is brilliant because
really smart.
A lot of teams sort of gone for slightly easier friendlies, but have really taken them on. So the big three that they've played recently is Sweden, Netherlands, and Brazil, and they've got one result of each. So they drew with Sweden 0-0. They beat the Netherlands 1-0, and then they lost to Brazil 2-1. But because they've taken on these great footballing nations in the friendlies, everything that's going to be so much experience that Germany's going to go in and be like, right, we know what we're doing.
And the results, because they're all so close, honestly, don't really matter.
No.
They challenged themselves. They came up against the toughest competition probably that they will see throughout the course of the tournament. So they're ready for it. And I love how they set this up with that. And then going into the World Cup, their final game will be against Zambia, which I'm sorry, it's just going to be a way for them to get their formation, get themselves firing on all cylinders, hopefully get quite a few players tucking a ball away. It's so key. If you have a goal under your belt in the previous game that you played going into the World Cup, that's so key. It's going to be, dare I say, kind of like the USA starting to get rolling against Thailand. They're going to be coming in absolutely firing on all cylinders. I think that they're going to be absolutely dominant. They're going to make a statement in this group. They're not just going to win this group. They're going to make a statement in this group. I want to highlight here that Group H, when moving into the round of 16, is going to play Group F. So the first place team advancing, which should be Germany, is going to play the second place team out of Group F. Group F, need I remind you, is the France, Brazil, Jamaica, Panama group.
Oh.
So if it falls at least how we anticipate it, we will see a Germany versus either Brazil or France matchup.
Oh, interesting. Because like we just said, Brazil was the team that beat Germany in the upgoing finals, and France were the ones that they beat in the Euro semis to get to that final. So either way, it's going to be a tasty round 16. Moving on to South America and going to Colombia. They are not a surprise team, but they were one that I think a lot of people were like, they're keeping momentum because they'd done well previously. And rather than just fade away, they seem to have been getting the funding, and they're like, right, let's do it.
Yeah, they kind of fell off the world stage for a while. They were in the 2011 World Cup, the 2015 World Cup, and then they fell off. And I think that they surprised everybody in how they qualified for the World Cup. They won all 4 games in their first phase. They beat Paraguay, Chile, Ecuador, and Bolivia. And then they beat Argentina in the semifinal. Yep. And then they lost to Brazil in a hard-fought final. But to beat Argentina, I think, is the moment everybody was like, oh, Colombia are here to play. They drew into a tough group, I have to say. Yeah. They have Germany. They have South Korea, who are the Asian Cup runners-up. And then they have Morocco, who are the Africa Cup of Nations runners-up. So they're really, technically you could say they're the runners-up because they lost to Brazil in the final. But it's a tough one to draw into.
It's the runners-up group because Germany were runner-ups in the Euros.
I suppose so, yeah.
Not to keep reminding everybody of that win, but yeah.
While we're doing kind of the history of Colombia, I do want to remind everybody that they were also a surprise in the 2015 World Cup.
Yeah, this was a huge one. So in their group, they had Mexico, France, and England. They managed to draw with Mexico. They beat France, which everybody was like completely shocked at, 2-0, and then lost to England 2-1, but that's such a close scoreline. And then, they went out to USA in round 16. But they've got precedence of getting out the group, which is a big
That's
thing.
Absolutely huge. They've got experience in the World Cup. And it's noteworthy because I'm going to call this out because I know you like to call this out. We have got a European team. We've got an Asian team, a South American team, and an African team. Yeah, all very different styles. And Colombia have faced European teams recently in Italy and France. They lost both of those games, but that's okay. And they've actually also faced an African nation in Nigeria, who they beat 1-0. So they've faced teams of all different styles, I guess with the exception of an Asian team.
Yes, they haven't. So that's going to be interesting because it's very different styles of play.
How do you feel like Colombia's style is going to align versus, you know what, let's just eliminate Germany from this because we do think that they're going to go first. We're talking Colombia, South Korea, and Morocco, and they're going to battle for that second place. How do you feel like each of their styles is going to align? Colombia versus South Korea, and then Colombia versus Morocco.
Well, Korea is very possession-based football. You know, it's very play out from the back, keeping that low block and then hoping someone will break. Whereas Colombia, it's a much more fluid, it's box to box, it's, you know, get the ball as forward as you can and break. So it's about who's going to break down whose defenses. And I fancy Colombia's chances, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, you can see that even in just the scoreline versus France.
Yeah.
If anybody is going in to play France and you think that you're maybe not the favorites, the first thought is, oh, are we just going to sit back and hope that we can get one on the counter? No, this was an open game. That was a 5-2 scoreline. An open game.
And they scored first. So, yeah, to play without that fear is going to be a huge thing. And I think that's going to be how they're going to break down South Korea, because South Korea do like to park the bus. They do like to be very defensive heavy.
And you know what? Morocco are very similar to South Korea. I think if you think of an African nation in the style of play, you don't think that way, but Morocco are a little contrary to that. They do focus, and we'll come on to Morocco, but they do focus more on defense than they do on the attack. So Colombia, in facing both South Korea and Morocco, will be, I think, the more attacking oriented team against in both of those games.
Yeah, also there's a physicality to Colombia that I don't really see in the other two teams.
Should we talk key players for Colombia?
Who you got?
Linda Caicedo, she plays for Real Madrid. She made her debut for the national team at 14 years old, which is absolutely wild to me. Yep. She's one to watch. Lacey Santos, 27 years old. I think she's going to come in firing on all cylinders in that very key attacking center mid position. I think those two are really my ones to watch for Colombia.
Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
So let's talk about, we mentioned them previously, South Korea, who I have to say, looking at the teams that have been called up previously, probably one of the oldest squads going into the World Cup. And I don't mean that meanly because they're only in their 30s, but footballing standards.
Absolutely. I do want to start kind of by talking about, well, let's start by saying, we've mentioned this before, South Korea, they were the runners-up for the AFC Women's Asian Cup. They lost to China in penalties, a really heartbreaking loss. Yeah. They played extremely well. I want to start by talking about their head coach because I find this very interesting. Head coach Colin Bell, he's a former player, but more importantly, he is a very experienced coach within the women's game specifically. He's won the Champions League with FFC Frankfurt in 2015. He also has experience being the head coach of a national team in Ireland. And then he was hired after the World Cup in 2019. He made waves when he was a player, basically saying that South Korean players are as technically skilled as anyone, but their fitness levels lacked, which is a very interesting statement. So you can assume that I'm going to guess this team is very fit coming into this tournament. As a coach, he was quoted saying, Korean players possess excellent technique, but we have to play with greater intensity to compete against the best teams in the world. It seems that he really sees this team clearly and he has a very clear plan for how he wants to take them, from not necessarily the bottom, but to elevate them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've seen it. We have seen an improvement within the South Korean team since he took over. They are definitely getting... I think it's also helping that they are playing in different leagues now. Again, it was very, you played in either the Japanese league, Chinese league, or in Korea, whereas, there are some names that people are going to know because they play in the WSL or have played in the WSL, or they have played over in the States. So, yeah, he does seem to be doing what he said he was going to do.
Absolutely. Recent results are very interesting. South Korea, kind of alike to Colombia, they've been able to get out of their hemisphere, if you will. Yeah. They have been able to play an African team in Zambia. Zambia got third in the Cup of Nations. So no small feat there. Yep. A notable win I just want to call out in the AFC Women's Asia Cup is that they did beat Australia in the quarterfinal.
Yep.
And also a notable result in June of 2022, they did tie Canada. If you look at that game, Canada absolutely dominated it, but a 0-0 scoreline nonetheless. The biggest call out for them, in my opinion, is that they can keep a clean sheet. Maybe more than anybody we've talked about yet in this tournament, they can keep a clean sheet, and that is going to be very key here. And it is interesting when you think about the fact that they have played Zambia, and we're about to come on to Morocco. Morocco did not face Zambia in their African Cup of Nations journey, if you will. But Zambia got third, Morocco got second, and South Korea did beat Zambia by a lot twice.
Yes.
So I think that's a really good way to look at these teams and kind of compare and contrast.
So I just want to shout out some players that are in the South Korean team that people would know and what's what. So obviously the big name is Ji So-young, who was at Chelsea for a long time, is now back in the Korean League. You've got Cho So-hun, who was at Tottenham. She's just been let go from Tottenham, was at West Ham for a little bit. Again, WSL. And then the last one is Lee Ju-min, who is at Brighton, was at Man City for a little bit. So these are big names that you guys would know from following the WSL. So there are definitely some big names to look out for.
And finally, Morocco. I'm so excited to talk about Morocco. We have another African nation in this tournament. This is, I guess you could say, Africa's second best team. They lost to South Africa 2-1 in the finals. Yeah. Their journey there, they beat Nigeria on penalty kicks to advance to the final. And then Nigeria actually ended up losing to Zambia. Nigeria got fourth.
Yeah.
That's not what we're here to talk about. I just find it very interesting because I think Nigeria are rated pretty highly, but they ended up getting fourth in the Cup of Nations. Morocco, this is their first World Cup, and this is the first Arab team to ever qualify for a Women's World Cup. Round of applause.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
I just love that.
Yeah.
This expanded format is great for so many reasons. Now we just need to expand the roster sizes, but maybe that's for 4 years from now. And that's not what we're here to talk about either.
No, they're a team that are like growing. Like they're getting on people's radar a little bit more. That's because they've got a couple of players, again, that play outside different leagues. Their downside is that they haven't really played outside of their continent, which does make a difference because, yes, they play a different style than most African football. Mm-hmm. But if you're not getting out playing your European teams, your South American teams, your Australasia teams, it's going to put you at a deficit for a World Cup because...
I would agree.
Losing the name.
I would agree. They are going to play Italy in the lead up, and that will help them just in playing a team of Italy's caliber and be a European team. And I think that'll be a really fun game to watch, just style-wise, for the record. So I think that will help them, but they still aren't going to have and carry the experience that a team like South Korea or a team like Colombia have in either World Cup experience or experience playing outside of the style that they're used to facing. They've played a lot of African nations. Yeah. And these will all be teams that they really have never faced before. I love what their head coach is doing. There's a French head coach, Pedros, and he saw a lot of success at Lyon, if you recognize his name. And he's the one who's been implementing this kind of different style than we're used to seeing in the strong defensive emphasis and what he calls an efficient attack, which really just means more of a counterattack. I love that it's an efficient attack. We're not going to waste passes. We're going to go quickly. And I think that was clear in the African Cup of Nations. They had a great goal differential. They scored 9 goals. So an efficient attack, certainly. Not a lot of chances, but they're able to capitalize on those chances. And they only conceded 5.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they have played a couple of European nations in some friendlies, but they are low ranked. There is a bit of a difference. Like they haven't taken on a France or a Germany. It's, it's Croatia, it's Romania.
Do you have any key players for Morocco to call out?
Yes. So the big one, and it's the big name that everybody's going to know, is Rosella Ayen. Is currently at Tottenham. Got it through they play for Morocco because I believe their dad is Moroccan. So they were a young England international for a little bit, and then did the waiting out thing where you don't play for them for 5 years, and then in 2021 has rocked up 19 appearances from Morocco, but has also scored 9 goals in those.
That's a lot of goals.
In the 19 appearances. So, you know, she's going to be on that front line trying to bang those goals in, and clearly is successful.
This is what's exciting about Morocco, is that you think of a team that sits back and you don't think of a team that scores a lot, but they are very efficient in their attack. They can put goals away. So when you're looking at their score lines, you might not think that they are a defensive-oriented team, but they most certainly are. I want to call out Amani Saud. She's a 20-year-old player. She grew up in France and kind of played in the youth system in France, actually. Yeah. She plays her club soccer in Switzerland, and I think she's going to be really explosive for Morocco. Not everybody, but a lot of these players do play their club soccer in Morocco, which I think is really exciting for this team as the nation continues to grow and hope. I mean, we always hope for this, that they do continue to get investment, and the fact that they've qualified for a World Cup will allow them to continue to get more investment. We're not talking about Jamaica, but, you know, because we've done that, but news has recently broken about how, and we talked about how little in the history of the Jamaican club that they were able to get any funding whatsoever. I mean, their team folded for a while, and now it's being made public that they're not getting the funding that they need really to do well in the World Cup. And that's really disappointing. And I don't want to see that happen also here in Morocco. This is a team that I think can continue to qualify for World Cups should the funding continue to grow with them.
100%. 100%. So, rankings.
What do you think? You go first, or you want me to go first?
No, I'll go first. I'm happy to go first. So, I think Germany has to finish number 1.
I'm shocked.
Has to. Something's going drastically wrong if Germany don't finish number 1.
We're in an alternative universe if Germany doesn't go number 1.
Yeah, so Germany has to finish first. Oh, I'm torn between Colombia and South Korea for second. I think South Korea might edge it, just because I think their careful play and that defensive low block that I've mentioned so many times now that they have will be able to keep scorelines down and then nick a goal on the counter. So I'm going to give it to South Korea, and then I think it goes Colombia and Morocco.
Here's what I think is interesting, is that I think that historically a lot of teams from Asia have not been rated highly, and a lot of teams from South America have not been rated highly. They're just not necessarily the nations when you think of the top teams in the world, you don't think of an Asian nation and you don't think of a South American nation. And I think that in this World Cup, we're going to get to see a lot more of, honestly, an Asian team versus a South American team, which is really exciting to me because I want to see how all of them have advanced. And I want to see, hey, is South America advancing faster right now? Or are the Asian nations advancing faster right now? Or are they going at the same speed? And this game's going to be really exciting. I agree Germany's going number 1. I also agree that it's between Colombia or South Korea for who goes number 2. And then I think Morocco's going number 4. But I think that they're really going to put up a fight. And it's not just going to be they scored no goals, they got no points. Yeah. They're going to put up a fight, and they're going to be really fun to watch. I'm also very torn between Colombia and South Korea. I do think South Korea have the edge, but I'm going to go with CONCACAF. Like, let's do it. Colombia as number 2. They surprised everybody in 2015. We know that they can beat a good team when they want to, or tie a good team if they really have to. And they're explosive. So that Colombia versus South Korea matchup is going to be, you know, goal scoring versus defensive. And right now, I'm going to bet on the goal scoring of Colombia. So I'll go Germany, Colombia, South Korea, Morocco. But it's not going to be that easy. It is going to be a battle between all 3 of these teams, really, for that 2nd, 3rd, 4th spot. And that is it for our entire series of the World Cup group previews. But do not fret, because we also have a really fun episode. I don't know if we want to include it in the series. It's not going to be a part of the series, but we're going to do a fun episode where we just
predict everything.
Yeah, where we just predict what we think will happen in the World Cup, who's going to win, who's going to get Golden Boot, all of those fun things that we love to talk about. So do not fret. This is actually just the beginning of our World Cup coverage.
Basically, it's going to be one Brit, me, versus all of the Americans.
But stay tuned if you like this series. Stay tuned for our World Cup coverage. Obviously, historically, we've done coverage of all the major tournaments, and this is no different. We're going to get 2 episodes out per week. We're going to cover the entire tournament and a ton of extra content up on our Patreon. So continue to tune in, everybody. We are not done yet. We are just getting started. So for the Women's Soccer Show, Find Her Football, Women's World Cup, group previews, crossover, special mini-series, I have been Sarah.
I've been Ali.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.